Look at the way that ramp is drawn. This is very aesthetically pleasing. Very good. We have a Superman poster. It took me a second to see the bottom text there. What happens if we try to land? Not like that. OpenAI has introduced two new additions to the GPT-5.4 family, and they are GPT-5.4 Mini and GPT-5.4 Nano. For today's video, we're going to be doing some testing with both of these models on the same tasks just to see how they compare when given the same exact task, being that these are lower priced alternatives designed for specific use cases that need more speed and lower cost comparatively to using the full GPT 5.4 model. So let's jump into a quick announcement post. We'll read some at least high points on these models, and then we'll jump into some fun and light testing. So don't forget to subscribe. But let's get into this blog post, and really the culmination of a lot of what is mentioned in here is talking more specifically about these models being able to be delegated in sub-agentic tasks. They do mention codecs, where if we scroll down all the way here, and this is something that really kind of gets the point across, at least in my opinion, in codecs, GPT 5.4 Mini is available across all of the codecs interfaces. It uses only 30% of the GPT-5.4 quota, letting developers handle coding tasks for about 1/3 the cost. So that's very interesting to see, because if you do have a simpler task that needs to get knocked out, you can opt to use 5.4 Mini instead, and it won't use up as much of your allotment or expense. So that's cool to see, and I'm interested in seeing the capability specifically with some coding tasks in either of these smaller models, as it is cool to see that you can get a cheaper option and perhaps still some relatively decent performance. In scrolling up a little, we do see that there is also a chart here where we have accuracy on this axis across both of these, and then we have latency versus cost. So we can see that GPT 5.4 Mini, which is mentioned more here in terms of coding than Nano. Nano is really just mentioned for like long, simple tasks that are repetitive that need to be done very cheaply. I'm not 100% sure how coding would fit into that, but they do show it right here, and this is pretty cool. So we have, at least in this point, an estimated cost for a task, the accuracy for 5.4 Mini versus 5.4. So that's definitely a big difference here, and that is reflective of the lower cost and higher speed, I guess could be said. Now, something I don't necessarily make a lot of videos on, but I am interested in, is just the computer use capability, where they mention Mini is good at this, where it can see dense user interfaces and actually be able to figure out what task to perform based off of the image that it sees at a higher rate of speed. So that's cool to see as well. And basically from what we see, it does appear that 5.4 Mini is relatively decent at coding, especially compared to its larger and more expensive sibling. Nano, perhaps not as much, but again, that's why we're going to test these. So the final thing we're going to do before jumping into the testing, which will just be done through OpenRouter for simplicity and ease of use, is to look at the model cards to get a little more specific detail in either of these new models. So we can see across this chart that on the leftmost pane we have the regular GPT-5.4 at the input price of $2.50 per million input tokens and $15 per million output tokens. GPT-5.4 Mini is 75 cents per million in and $4.50 per million out, and then 5.4 Nano is 20 cents per million in and $1.25 per million out. So significantly cheaper than either of these other models, but again, we'll have to see how the performance stacks up before making a determination, as cost is also relative to performance. Additionally, we see that either of these new models have a context window of 400,000 as opposed to the 1 million with the full-fledged 5.4. Additionally, these are both also multimodal, where if you click on it, you can see the input modalities that they do accept, and both of these do show images as well, and they're just regular text output. I also find it interesting that they say latency. We have fast, faster, and faster. I would have expected fast, faster, and fastest. So if we do notice that that does end up changing, it may give us insight that someone at OpenAI has been watching my videos, and in that case, hello. Alright, let's just go to OpenRouter now and test these. So I initially tried using these models through OpenRouter with both of them set to X high reasoning mode. Mini took 11 minutes to reason and then culminated with doing nothing following the reasoning chain. And then Nano went into a weird abstract chain of thought where it was thinking the user was looking for job listings when I had just given them the browser OS test. Following that, I decided to try them through the OpenAI playground. What we received was Nano did finish its result and started putting it in a code block, and then the culmination of that was the code block disappeared and I could not copy paste the result out of there. At that point, I got rather enraged, but But fortunately, I did set their reasoning efforts to low, hopped over to OpenRouter, and they both actually started working. So that's where we'll jump into right now. So finally, both models did actually output a script we can look at. I set both of the reasoning efforts to low, which I did not want to have to do, but unfortunately, after around 30 minutes of trying, it was the only way I could actually get these things to spit out scripts we could look at. So with that, let's now begin by taking a look at the GPT-5.4 Mini browser OS. See, this is good, even for low thinking mode. So I'm now significantly less enraged than I was a few minutes ago, which is very nice always. Okay, this all looks really quite good. Okay, we have a notification here. Keyboard Control K open search. So you're telling me that there's a... This is... I got excited. See, this is like pretty good. All right, 65 times 6, 390 divided by 9, 45 minus 1.67. Can we minimize to the taskbar? Can we reopen from the taskbar? Okay, we can. So this is actually a good result. I'm almost now happy that I had to be forced to turn their reasoning to the minimal effort save. Okay, clear. That does work as well. Very good. Clock. Correct, indeed. Significantly later than when I started this video. I'm calming down. We do have our clock and date in the bottom right. We can't drag the icon. Someone else had mentioned, oh, the right click. Okay, there is no right click. Regardless, we do have our wallpaper setting capability. And then mountain photo. Pacific Northwest, perhaps? Oh, very cool. That photo really gets used a lot across many different models in these generation tests. We have a fake file browser, even with previews for these specific files. So look at this. Our configuration JSON preview actually shows us something. This is cool. Our first of 2 games, player X. Okay, and it's not one of the AI-infused ones, but that is okay. I wouldn't really expect that. Player X wins. The win logic is correct. Now, the Snake Master himself. Huh, the snake has already been grown a bit, but that's okay. This is a nice snake game. Really, the only issue is that the arrow key is also moving the window up and down, which sometimes happens more often than one would like to see. Okay, and we got a score. Finally, our start menu, and that's pretty much everything. Again, we just had that Control K for the search, which was pretty nice to see. Overall, this was a very solid result, especially considering the quickness with which it was generated. Next up, the Nano results. So keep in mind, this is the much smaller and cheaper model. This is still good too. They're very similarly sized. Chronicle, open apps from the dock. We have our clock, but it's up at the top. Notes, okay. Can I minimize to the taskbar? I don't know because there was no effect. Let's try a right click. Okay, no right click, but what is Chronicle? Chronicle, this OS remembers your actions as an event log. You can replay the log, quickly recreate what you did. It's special because it turns this into a lightweight time rewind experience. And it did, where I opened the Notes app and then closed it. This is just so weird. Like this small little cheapo model pounded that out. That's a pretty impressive special feature. All right, we have our calculator. It actually looks good. The UI times 6. Oh, wallpaper. That looks good. And we can choose a file. All right, very good. It's almost, the argument could be made that some features of this Nano version are more impressive than the Mini version. Next up, we have TTT, which would of course be tic-tac-toe. I knew that. I was just checking to see if the audience did. Very good. And we can reset. Then of course, this is the big issue, is like, how am I going to even be able to play this? All right. Speed, 9 steps a second. Overall, this was a Chronicle special feature. How could I have forgotten? Let's see now if it actually... What the heck? Why did it... That's really impressive. It's also concerning that the model decided this was a prudent special feature. When considering security, minded folks may find this to be terrifying, that a model trained from a big closed frontier lab has decided that it wants to just log every single one of your browser actions or operating system and then be able to replay them. Terrifying, but very cool. Next up, because these are both multimodal, being that they can see images, we're giving them this Stevie Slappis hand-drawn portfolio wireframe, and we're going to just tell them to turn this wireframe into a portfolio website that would get someone hired at a top AI company. I have just put them side by side here because it will give us some level of speed here. Is this one already done? No, okay, it's still generating. It just gave us a different organization of its answer here, but they are both still on the minimal reasoning effort or the low reasoning effort. Now, both of these did also give us a summary of why they chose to do what they did. Before we look at that, I would like to just take a peek at some of these results, starting with the more expensive of the two, the Mini. Okay, we have TV Lapis. Not bad. I have no idea what was attempted to happen here, but I will say that whatever it ended up doing was quite terrifying. It looks like a stuffed animal that's missing the stuffing, but I don't even know. It read the name as TV Lapis, which is fairly regular thing to see. Let's take a peek though. I would say this is actually a very, very true to wireframe result. It just took pretty much the exact outline from the wireframe and then filled in the sections, populating them with specific things for a portfolio page. Designed from the original wireframe and elevated into a modern AI portfolio prototype, I would say I agree. I don't see anything super special here, but it did a solid job and it definitely did adhere specifically to what we wanted. Next up, let's take a peek at the Nano result. Interesting. So less organized than that. Some of the cards perhaps look a little more high-tech. Tip, try polish bio. Oh, AI assist. Bio polish, demo rewrite. This is so weird that Nano, again, I'm beating a dead horse. These are on the same reasoning effort. This one's putting in far more impressive, like, additional special features to these things. Summarized to 3 bullets, and then each time you click it, make it easy to reach you. This section mirrors your wireframe. Steve. It represents more functionality than I would have expected from the weaker and cheaper of these two models. Preview, share ready, draft, profile, build, copy, or export JSON. Suggest skills. AI assistant. Clear. And we can add skills too. All right, let's try the static subway scene result, as this will definitely test some of their, not exotic coding capabilities, but they'll have to properly make 3D assets and render them in a manner in which they would look in real life. So this could definitely trip them up, assuming they can be tripped up by a prompt like this. Cool, so as we can see, they've both frozen at the exact same time. Oh no, they finished? Yeah, let's retry that. Okay, so with the previous two tests, we've seen that Mini does a better, cleaner job, but then Nano will implement something that's like ridiculously outside the scope of what we would have expected. So I'd guess like Nano will kind of mess it up, but put in like a moving train or something really extra. I need to respond apologetically to the situation. Indeed you do. Okay, so let's see if the Nano one had the same issue here. I would imagine, but who knows with the Nano one. I see something. It's just, it's just really hard to see. Well, there is a semblance of a shape. I'm worried here that there are no issues being shown in the developer console. It is just this. Fortunately, these are, of course, multimodal, so we can give it a little insight into what it has generated for us, and we'll ask it how it feels about this result. It's a cool start. The idea is clearly there. Clearly is kind of a stretch word to describe that. The scene is way too dark and washed out. Almost everything collapses into a silhouette. Correct. Oh, okay, it's just giving me suggestions on how to patch this. Yeah. So in the meantime, while that tries to fix the darkness issue, but curious that it didn't actually have any issues, we'll take a look at the second version of the Mini generation. So here's the hypothetically fixed subway scene from the GPT-5 Mini. Okay, good. Now I'm wondering, can we go in here and see more detail? We can, but with the caveat that there's some camera clipping, which is so frustrating because we're actually, oh, maybe not. I think it's just drawn these walls throughout the entire scene to the point where, yeah, something's still not 100% right, but we do see some, like there's a bench. I see decent looking drawn lights. I see tiles. I see blue. We even see a partial sign here that says downtown. This has some serious promise. The big issue is just we'll see how Nano looks and then we'll decide if we. So the Nano result is over double the size of the Mini result. Oh, okay. Well, two very, very different approaches. I'm going to say that I don't believe, based off of what we've seen here, it would be a prudent use of anyone's time to try to further generate these results. I'll say that Nano just took this to, I think this was perhaps a bit too much of a task, especially considering these are on low reasoning mode, because that was the only way I could actually get the things to work. Then Mini did a good job. It just had some of those issues. But if we were doing this in Codex or something, it would be easy to fix this. So that is also something nice to see. I may come to regret this, but I've set them both now to medium reasoning effort, and we're trying the 3D printer simulation. So maybe we'll get a nice balance between a little more intricacy in the thought, but not just going full into basically a thinking loop where they spin out and don't produce anything. So beginning with GPT 5.4 Mini printer simulation, it is just giving us this message in the bottom left saying loading simulation, but I am again a bit concerned that the import issue is occurring. I'm telling Mini to fix the issue quickly and then regenerate the script. So in the meantime, let's take a look at our Nano. So if we refresh this, we should get our 3D printer result from the Nano model, and we do. It is rather dark, but we can see an attempt at actually having drawn a 3D printer and a nozzle and some other associated pieces. So I'll just try to have it print a square. All right. The movement's actually pretty good. Okay, it's not 100% working, but keeping in mind, this is the Nano result. So even the fact that it was able to knock this out as well on minimal thinking or low, medium thinking, that's actually still not bad. The movements look okay. We can see the nozzle is properly moving how it would to create a circle here. And finally, let's just see if the triangle movement is working, which it is. So overall, not perfect, but still for the consideration of the cost of this model, as well as it being the Nano one, and then on the medium thinking effort, this is a respectable attempt. So here's our Mini printer result. That is fantastic. That is really, really nicely done. Now, yeah, the spool is rotating in the wrong way if we were to nitpick, but forget it. The gantry is not drawn badly. The movement of the nozzle is good, but more importantly, it's actually drawing the shape well. And something interesting to note is it seems like the current line it's working on is actually a different color until it moves on to the next one. The infill process is done well. This is a good result, I would say, especially considering like the purpose and the scope of this model. If we speed up our timeline, we see this is really doing a good job in drawing a pretty intricate square. So next up we have our circle. I want to see something. When we reset, it does. So it actually draws the purge line too, which is a real thing that these printers do. So that's very nice to see. This is a good result, and I'm very happy to receive this here because it makes me more bullish in some of the additional tests. Our triangle looks great as well. Home view. Very cool. Very, very solid. So sadly, we got the same issue with GPT Mini, where the reasoning happened and then it stopped. I'm going to just try to prompt it to finish, and we'll see what it does. We'll just try now the Nano result, which did finish. I'm very interested to see how this does. Okay, this actually looks potentially very good. I'm impressed with this. I know that may seem silly. The plane is oriented the wrong way, but aside from that, I'm actually very happy with what I see here. Oh, okay, that's great. That's really, right as I say that. Let's try our propeller plane. We do have different plane models, kind of. We actually see a rotating propeller there, and for a brief second, I did see an enemy. Now, this implemented a bunch of different controls for the plane, such as roll, pitch, and yaw. So that's mouse drag. Okay, good. I saw an enemy, at least initially. I'm not quite sure where they went to, and we've kind of flown off the map now. So we'll try the final plane, which is the heavy bomber. Okay. And we do have ammunition effects. So yeah, and I saw an enemy there for a second. Oh, so R and F is throttle up or down. Interesting. I really hope we can get Mini working because I'll be very excited to see what that does create. All right, so on medium reasoning effort, we did get a plane result from GPT-5.4 Mini. So far, what I'm seeing looks potentially very impressive, and it is. I love the low polyness. There's an enemy, and we can't speed up, but they're running from us, which makes sense. They're probably aware of my snake skills. Oh. The plane model's well done. Oh, okay. So we have to use WASD as well as the arrow keys here. That works. I don't know where the rest of the enemies are, though. Oh, okay, good. And the logic does work if we hit the ground. Then black screen for 2 seconds. Look at the propeller plane model. This is great. Okay, and the enemies seem to have joined together, which sometimes happens with these smaller models. They don't 100% nail the logic to keep them equally spaced away from you. This is good. I love the clouds. Can we fly through them? Yep. And our ammunition works. What happens if we try to land? Not like that. I doubt, I mean, it's very unlikely that we can actually land, but still, let's see if we gently go down. Oh, okay. It was worth a shot. Finally, the heavy bomber, and that is also properly modeled. Overall, this was very impressive, I would say. This is very, very good. For medium reasoning effort from GPT 5.4 Mini. I would have liked to have seen what higher XI would have done, but that just doesn't seem to be in the cards for today. So we have GPT 5.4 Mini on medium reasoning effort and GPT 5.4 Nano on high reasoning effort. I'm giving them the self-contained C++ skateboarding game test. I would be quite impressed if either of these did properly knock this out in one shot, but who knows, so I'll be excited to see. So we've received both results, and I am now just testing the Mini result first. It did compile, so what? That's really very good. Look at the way that ramp is drawn. This is very aesthetically pleasing. I didn't expect this. Okay, that's fine. I won't resize. The art style of this, I love. I don't know what one would specifically refer to this. It's like sketch style, maybe. Why did his shirt change color when he was grinding? Interesting. This is wonderful. Okay, we have some tricks as well. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing here, and this was on medium reasoning effort, remember. Oh, we flipped over the rail. Ooh, cool. Q and E is to spin. Very good. He's like, I like this. This will be on Steam. Oh, that was good. Oh, that was reset. I always do that, and I'm like, what happened? I'm very, 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 very pleased with this result. Nailed it. All right, this is well done. And this I wanted to specifically try because, again, they mentioned that this model can be used for basically 30% of the price of 5.4 when doing coding-related tasks in Codex. So if it can knock out a decent-looking C++ game like this in one go without any errors, that speaks very well to actually being able to use this for lower-cost software development tasks. So I'm quite happy to see this. Let's now try our Nano result. Sadly, we did not receive a proper compilation with the GPT-5 Nano result, though, you know, I'm going to actually give it the opportunity to fix this here, just because this one is much quicker to generate the result, and I'm not worried about it taking so long with thinking, so we'll see if this is able to fix it with one try. If not, we'll move on. But regardless of what happens there, the Mini result was fantastic. All right, now let's see. It works. It's interesting. The skateboard looks more like a mountain board, but we'll, all right. We can jump. We can move. Interesting. And the grinding logic works. Really, this is, I didn't necessarily expect to get a functional result here from the Nano model, and it almost made a pretty beefy half pipe right here. Q and E, left and right while airborne. Okay, the functionality is not as good, but it did actually make it, and it put a little human on the board as well. Overall, decent considering that this was the Nano model. Let's now test their capabilities in Python. So Nano is being used in the high thinking mode and Mini is being used in the medium thinking mode. We have told them just to create a Python 3D first-person shooter. It should have a mini map as well as simple ammunition tracer effects, and it should not use Ursina, so I want to see these kind of try to make it from a more low-level mathematical way to at least draw the map, and we'll see how they do. Nano is rapidly spitting out this code, and Mini will take a lot longer to have its thought complete and then generate. So we've received both our results. Let's just start with the Mini Python first-person shooter game. Okay, well, if you're ever wondering what it was like to look at a game from behind the screen, this is pretty much what you'd expect. Okay. Start Neon Strike. Okay, unfortunately, that was an issue. I'm going to hold off on giving that any feedback for right now because I think giving it an image may be more entertaining alongside our feedback. Regardless, let's try the Nano result now, and hopefully it has the... Oh, very good. Neon Warden. Okay, a tiny raycast FPS demo, Pygame only. That's actually... All right, give me a second because now I can't move. Can I move with arrow keys? Did it? This is frustrating because this is potentially kind of good. The big issue, of course, is that we can't move and there are no ammunition tracer effects. The plus side is you can't lose. It did a good job with the minimap here. These both require some feedback. Nano, less so. Then I'm going to have to do a little more work to give Mini some of its feedback. So I've given Mini the specific error that happens when we try starting the game, and then I said also, here's an image of the start menu, tell me what you think. And I gave it a screenshot of the application window. Okay, we have a specific code patch here for Nano, but it should apologize first. Oh. Reasoning. Collapse reasoning. Okay. And this one as well. Good, so we're going to be able to give them the exact same piece of feedback here. When they tried to give us partial snippets for the human to then have to implement by hand, I don't think so. My take on the menu, good concept, but I'd improve. Fix the flipped text first. Yeah, I would probably have to agree. Let's try our fixed Nano result. Good. Well, I don't know why I said good. There we go. Okay, good. Now, I'm not seeing any ammunition tracers, but you know what? We can actually move around the map now. We're taking damage, and this is well done. I'm going to say the map at least is well done. It doesn't seem like we can actually cause damage to any of these enemies, so the shooting logic isn't working, and the cursor or the aim crosshair is actually locked, so it can't move up and down, which definitely is a bit restrictive of our ability to actually fight back, but the health logic does work. Oh, we did! Those are creepy. Okay, so what we're seeing here is like the location of these through the walls almost. This is pretty good. I like this. I mean, I want this model in its local form. I did see ammunition tracers there. So this is a functional result and I'm very pleased with it from Nano. And finally, let's see if our... Okay, well, it didn't fix the flipped menu text, but now the game loads and we can actually see this is well done. Our health is going, and is the whole game inverted? Like, do I have to be facing away from these things to actually shoot at them? I don't know, but I'm going to say the mini-map looks good. The map itself looks nice too. The entirety of this experience is flipped. And that's just very, very weird. So I feel like I'd have to be facing backwards to these things to cause damage to them. So, all right. For the final test, I'm going to be giving them the task of creating an accurate 3JS model of Jerry's apartment from Seinfeld. This will be interesting to see how well they can actually adhere to, one, the individual nuanced detail of things that would be found in that scene, like the green bicycle hanging on the wall, the green couches, and the vintage Macs in the scene, as well as the actual arrangement and layout of the floor plan compared to how it would be in real life. So I'll be interested to see. Oh, that's giving me separate scripts? Nuh-uh. No. That's not going to be an option. Did Mini bail out? Because I'm just seeing initially what I can provide, and then we don't actually see any. Nice job. Is this some form of invisible code? Because I don't see anything. Okay. It's not funny. All right, let's take a look at Jerry's apartment, starting with the Mini model result. Click to enter. Okay, well, Jerry's apartment seems to be locked. What the heck is this? All right, so here is the result from the Mini model. I'm significantly more impressed than I'd expected to be. What the heck? So yeah, this does not 100% look like his apartment, but look at the way the poster's drawn. The wall even has a wallpaper effect to it, which I have not really seen before. We have a TV. Very good. We have a Superman poster. Very good. It took me a second to see the bottom text there. We have windows with shades and things of the sort. The pieces here are very well done. Even look at that model of the sink. Cereal boxes, a table. Do these have mesh colliders? No, so we can walk through them, but that's okay. And then the couch. This is better than I had expected to see. So I went to run the Nano result and was getting some odd errors. It basically designed it here where we have to place the model into the scene. It did not understand the task fully. So Nano did end up giving us something. Now, upon first glance, the contrast seems to be a bit off, but there's some wood texture here. We can't kind of move around. Now, WASD does not fully work, unfortunately. Press O to orbit around, then click to recapture cursor. First person on. Oh, okay. And now we can move around. Again, this is actually that it did something here, and if the contrast or the lighting wasn't so messed up, this would actually be perhaps a respectable result. We do have the semblance of a kitchen here, some furniture. There are some posters on the wall over here as well. Quite abstract. All right, overall, it did give us something garbage. So overall, that's going to conclude our first look and testing of the new GPT 5.4 family editions, which are GPT 5.4 Mini and GPT 5.4 Nano. As you very likely saw in the beginning of this video, I had quite a bit of trouble actually getting these to a specific place where I could reliably get results from them, which culminated in most of the tests being run on medium or low effort. But with that said, these were actually quite performant when we got everything working. I would say that Mini in codecs could be a very, very good cost-effective replacement for using the full-fledged 5.4 for some tasks. As we saw, I think something really that comes here as the most impressive thing I saw was the skateboard game that Mini created in one try using C++. This was really an impressive result. The way that the actual artistic elements here are drawn were very nice, and I have to say this result outperformed some results I've seen from like state-of-the-art models, not models that are smaller members of their own family. This was really, really well done and promising because it showed its ability to do things beyond just like web code and things that would be perhaps important for codecs and of the sort. So I really like this. The Nano model was quite interesting because sometimes it would knock out really high-end features comparatively to what one would have expected, like this replay log for the browser OS, which replayed every single specific action we had taken. Fascinating, just not expected for the Nano model. So that was cool to see. They both were able to actually generate various levels of functional flight simulator games. Obviously, the Mini one did a better job because this was borderline just flat out impressive, I would say. The models worked well, the flight logic, everything like that. The plane had a spinning propeller and the clouds were nice. This did like overall a really, really solid job on this. And even Nano did a decent job. I mean, we have ammunition tracers. We do have a little propeller there. Now the plane was going backwards, and I did see some enemies very infrequently when testing this, so it wasn't as fully functional, but still, it was functional. Then, of course, the apartment result here from Mini was very impressive when judging this just based on the individual assets it drew. I mean, that lamp is good looking. The art it drew was very good, and we saw some of this capability shown in the subway station test as well, where it didn't quite come together perfectly, but the elements we were able to see looked very, very promising. So overall, I was pleased with what I saw today once I got these models working, and I'm happy to say I ended this video in a better mood than when I started, when I was having such trouble with just like trying to figure these things out. So overall, these models are very worthy of taking a peek at, especially for some lower cost coding related tasks, specifically in codecs, I would imagine, with the 5.4 Mini model. So that is going to conclude our first look and testing of GPT 5.4 Mini and GPT 5.4 Nano. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or in the Discord, and thanks for watching.